Hey there, everybody. This is Diane Gilson with Info Plus Accounting, and I want to welcome you. But today in the background and actually taking over and being host today is Joe Hughes. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Diane. How are you?
Great, great. We're excited to bring this to you today, this Maximize Your Profits with QuickBooks. It looks like we've got a really good set of people coming in, but we want to check voice. Can you guys hear us? If so, let us know in the question portion of your GoToMeeting. We want to make sure that we have good audio going on here. Okay, if you're just coming in, you're in the right place. Oh, yep, I see a Y from James. Hi, James. You are a ongoing attendee. So glad to have you here. Okay, Vicky, good. Everybody can hear us. That's great. Okay, Joe, what's going on your side today?
Hi, I'm really excited to get into this, Diane. I know you've been working really hard, and this is part of your Better Numbers, Better Business series that you've been doing for, I guess, a little over a year.
Uh-huh.
And I've been following along, and we've been chatting throughout the past year or so, and just really excited to be a part of this and to get to interact with so many business owners or business managers who are looking to really take their QuickBooks and their bookkeeping and whatnot to the next level.
Great. Okay, and I'm so glad to have you as a part of this. Joe is actually a speaker in our construction industry success summit that we have available through Build Your Numbers, and that's how I got to know him. So we're just going to have a lot of fun today. And if you're just coming in, welcome. We're going to be doing Maximize Your Profits with QuickBooks. Could you let us know in the question where are you coming from? I always like to know where folks are showing up from. We're still a few minutes ahead of time, but just kind of want to keep welcoming folks that are showing up. I know this is a time of day that maybe you're eating lunch or maybe you're just having your first cup of coffee, depending upon whether you're on the West Coast or the East Coast. So we can all either sup or dine as we're thinking and learning today. So where are people coming from, Joe?
Well, it looks like we've got a lot of good representation from the East Coast so far. Amber in Jacksonville and down in Atlanta. Hi, Barbara. We have Tampa. Linda's down in Tampa. Reading, PA. I know where that is. I'm out here in New Jersey, John, so not too far. What else? Greensboro, Robert. So yeah, a lot of I guess the West Coast isn't quite awake yet, but the East Coast is into our day and ready to go.
We'll just shoot some virtual coffee over to those folks so they can insert it in whatever in their veins or sup whatever. Oh, I see somebody in California. Uh,
Oh, okay.
there's James. You're in San Diego. Oh, beautiful place. Okay, so if you're just coming in, maximize your profits with QuickBooks 13 Smart. And each one of these ways are relatively simple ways that you can use QuickBooks to transform your business. We're going to have some good stuff out here for you guys today so that you can find out what you really can do with that tool that you probably already have in your toolbox. Now, I did read some of the preliminary questions that people had. There were a couple of folks asking about specific versions of QuickBooks. And but other than that, I think most of our users or our participants today are already using QuickBooks in some shape or form. But there's so much out there in that QuickBooks toolbox, and sometimes people get really used to using it in a particular way, but hopefully we'll have some new things and new ideas for you to implement to help your bottom line so that accounting isn't just a necessary evil, it's a profit center. Wouldn't that be cool? Have our accounting center earning profits for our company in its own very special way. So, who all else are we seeing? If you're just coming in, let us know where you're coming in from. Glad to have you here. And I'm seeing we have just about a minute more to go. So, if you guys want to turn off all those distractions, I know Facebook is so much fun to be on, but if you can close the door, if you can turn off your Facebook, I know it's hard if you're addicted. Oh, and your email. Okay, minimize that email screen. I get totally distracted with email coming on, so I have minimized mine just so that I don't have anything else going on in the background while we're talking. Okay. So, okay, about 40 seconds to go. Good to have you here.
Diane, I love how you paint that vision of the of QuickBooks and accounting actually becoming a profit center and not just one of those things that you do kind of you squeeze in at the end of your week just because you have to do it. I think that's a really big mental shift that we can all make.
Yeah, it is. I do see a question coming in about is there a chat window? I believe in your from your side because I don't see exactly what you see, but there is one that's called questions. Okay, so that's where you would put any comments, ideas, issues, questions as you're going along, and we'll do our best. Either Joe will answer in the background or I will kind of try to keep an eye on things or as I get rolling on a presentation, sometimes we need to hold some of the questions till towards the end. So, okay, according to my clock, I don't know about you, Joe, but I have about 10 seconds after the top of the hour. So I always love to go ahead and reward the people that show up on time. So, welcome. Thank you for being here. So, I'm going to let Joe just kick off things as host.
Hi, welcome everyone. I'm really excited to be the host of this webinar with Diane titled Maximize Your Profits with QuickBooks, 13 Smart and Simple Ways to Transform Your Business. So as most of you know by now, Diane has been doing this for over 30 years and has a ton of experience in the industry and over 40 years, excuse me, working with large and small businesses, focusing on really making that accounting profit center, really getting you focused on your management accounting, getting you to make this an important part of your business as it should be for all of our businesses. So in addition to helping her clients throughout the country and throughout the world actually on all these things, she's been a speaker at several events nationwide and has written many articles. She's got a wealth of content on her website and is also the author of Accounting with QuickBooks for Builders, Remodelers, and Developers. So we are in very good company today, and I don't want to take up any more of Diane's time right now, and I know she's got a lot of packed into this hour here.
Okay, thanks a whole bunch, Joe. And actually, more important, I mean, you guys, you'll have a chance to get slides here towards the end of the session. Hang out there, and we'll make sure you have a chance to download the slides. But really, more importantly than any of those certifications, I mean, that's just what I've done to be in a position to be able to help folks. The thing is that I see is that company owners, bookkeepers, and so on have a lot of pain. What happens is they start trying to work on their books. They don't know exactly how to handle things. They know they probably really should be doing that, or they get very focused and centered on delivering services. That's what they're about. Okay, that's why they went into business. However, if you're going to run a business, whether you like it or not, you're going to have to go ahead and take a look at the numbers and understand what's going on. And when you don't, you can end up with some really big profitability issues. And what I see so many company owners believe that what's going on is that they've got a drain on their profitability on the accounting side. They view it as a necessary evil. They have to turn in things for taxes. However, as I mentioned kind of before we started, let's try to think of if we set up our accounting systems right, they can actually be a profitability center. Let's go back to this concept from Peter Drucker. What gets measured gets managed. And when things are visible to you, you can fix them. You can't fix things you don't know about. Okay? And so what we want to do is start thinking about our accounting system as a tool in a measuring system, very much like when you're out in the field. If you're in construction, it's measure twice, cut once, so that you don't have to redo things or really make some big mistakes and go in the wrong direction. Now, I'm going to be using this diagram, and you'll see 13 little boxes. We're going to fill those boxes in as we go along and as we talk about different concepts in how you can use QuickBooks to get better management information. So, of course, we know we have to get taxes done, but there's this huge tool in your toolbox that you might not have ever really lifted the top for and looked at because it can help you run your business more effectively. So, one of the first ways that we want you to think about is what if you knew the income and the cost and the gross profit and the percentage of gross profit for every job that you worked on. Now, this is a fairly simplified view, okay? And we're going to look at these different jobs very briefly, and I can show you what are the differences and how might this help you to run your business more effectively. So let's start out with a really good news. Job A. If you look in that column right here, you will see sales, $60,000 for this particular job. Our cost of goods sold are sitting in here, including payroll, trade contractors, materials, and so on. Our total cost of goods sold, $40,500. That actually is 68% of what we started out with. This is 100%, 68%. Our gross profit in this case is 33%. And for folks in construction, or almost any business, that's a pretty good gross profit percentage. And if we look at our net profit down here at the bottom, the $19,000, 19.5. We haven't assigned any company overhead because usually those just go over to the expense category. Okay, we're seeing 33%. We get a gold star on that one. Now let's go move over to look at job C. Okay, that gets a nice green check mark. Our gross profit is a percentage is not as high, but we still made money. And let's say in this case for this company, our gross profit target right here, okay, our gross profit target was 25%. We met our target on that one. We exceeded it here. Now let's go over and look at job B. Well, things are not quite as bright and cheery over here. We ended up with a gross profit of $3,600. That's only 4%. That's not very good. At least it's a profit. But you know what? If our target was 25%, it's not enough. And look at job D. Unfortunately, our costs exceeded our income and we had a loss. Now, if you're able to see all of these numbers by doing job costing, then you're definitely further ahead because you can see where you made money, where you didn't make money, and that's going to help you figure out what to do about it. Okay, so that's going to be our first step. We'll drop that into our screen here in just a moment. In the meantime, Joe's going to show a poll for us, and we're going to find out what you guys are doing.
This is the one that you're referring to, correct?
Okay, yes. And so we're going to make these polls really quick. Okay, so we're going to give you guys, 10, 15 seconds maybe, and answer quickly. In my company, we can see exactly how much we're making or have made on each job. Just select one of those.
Okay, it's a pretty even horse race for now. Some votes continuing to come in. And it looks like we're just about everyone who's going to vote has voted. And what we're looking for, what we're looking at, Diane, with the results, 35% of people are saying almost always. We have 17, 18% of people saying frequently, 28% occasionally, and 19% almost never.
Okay, so congratulations to those of you who are almost always and frequently. Occasionally, you guys have a little bit of room, okay, and almost never. So I'd say, like you said, it's almost evenly split. That's almost 50 above the line and 50 below the line. Pretty close. 48 below the line, 52 above. So, okay, good. So that lets you guys, and that's kind of the idea of the polls, is it's interesting for us, but I think it's also interesting for you to know what other people in your peer group, so to speak, that are sitting out here are actually doing as well. Okay, so you can go ahead and close that, Joe, and that should let it come back to my screen. Okay, so you'll see here on the screen we've dropped in this job cost reporting. So we're going to go on to the next major piece that you can do, estimated income, cost, and variances. Now, I know that for folks in construction and for people who are company owners and so on, that sometimes details is just a dirty word. You don't like to deal with details. However, if you think about your day-to-day work and what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, you actually do deal with a lot of details. And the same thing is true. The need to look at details on the numbers side of your business is really, really important. Why? Well, this is a variance report. This is the end that we have in mind when we set up a job cost system. Now, one of the many ends in mind, but this is a really very cool result that you can get in QuickBooks. What you're seeing on the left side of the screen is what we call a variance report. Now, this this general layout and format is something that we can set up for every single job that you have, where you can see your estimated cost and your estimated income. Now we've got the estimated income up at the top, and you'll see that our estimated revenue, actual revenue, and dollar difference is sitting in this portion. And if you set up your item list, which is one of the secrets to job costing in QuickBooks, if you set up your item list properly, and you can get all of these details in terms of specific job stages, see these down the side, and you can set it up so that you see your income towards the top. Okay, so you can see your estimated versus actual revenue, but these columns, this is where you start controlling what's going on in the job as you progress through the job. So you'll see out here, these are major headers. You can set these up the way you like, and you can see subtotals within job stage. Okay, so this is very neat. This lets you see what's happening as the job progresses. Okay, so these specifics, these tweaks, these are the areas where you find out, oh, gee, we forgot to estimate for this particular cost, or this particular cost is running over estimate. So that's part 2. So let's go do another poll and find out what you guys are doing. How many of you can get this type of report where you see estimated versus actual dollars? So in my company, we can see accurate estimated versus actual results for jobs at a level of detail that's useful to us. And I do want to say that what level of detail is useful can vary from company to company. And so part of the challenge, of course, is to find out what's useful for you. So how's it going, Joe?
Okay, we're just about 80% of people have voted, so I will go ahead and close the poll and display our results here.
Okay. Okay, almost always and frequently. That's great. Congratulations again. Kudos. So those of you who are not doing this, take a look at the people that are in the top 46% and know that your competition is doing this, okay? So keep that in mind as you move forward, that some of your peers are getting a lot better information about what's going on in their jobs and in their company than those of you who aren't doing this. So the trend is towards company owners and companies learning more and more about how to run their businesses more effectively. So hopefully you'll find that information. If you're not in the top half there, that you find that to be motivational in moving forward. Okay. All right. So we can go on to our next step here.
Diane, we had a couple questions.
Okay.
One question and comment. I'm not sure whether you want to answer now, but I'll throw it out there. Andreas asks, to pull that report, you'll need to create a budget first, right? And I think that's something you're going to get into toward the end of the presentation. Correct?
Yeah, well, actually, I think I can touch on this right now, is that in QuickBooks, we call that an estimate. Okay, and yes, you would need to create an estimate in QuickBooks using your items. So that's the answer to that. And you would actually have to use items when you enter your cost and your income. Okay. All right.
Great. And one more, Robert mentions that he uses Excel for all these details because he's not able to get the QuickBooks good enough for what he wants, I guess. So maybe that's a bit of a learning curve. I'm not sure on that one.
Okay, well, and that's what I find lots of folks are using Excel and creating a lot of extra work for themselves because they just don't know how to set things up properly in QuickBooks. And so what you can do then, and we'll have to hold other questions till we get a little further along. However, the idea is that rather than running a set of reports in Excel and another set of transactions in QuickBooks and maybe some things on 3x5 cards and putting things in notebooks and so on, having a whole lot of systems in different places, QuickBooks can do so much stuff in one place, and it's just a matter of knowing how to set that up. And of course, we've got tools, we've got training classes and so on that you can get to help you get through the very specific how-tos. I can't possibly cover everything in this short period of time, but I think sometimes if you know that you can get certain things and we provide you with the tools to learn how to get there, then the first step is knowing that you can get it. Okay? All right. So, I'm going to move on to purchasing controls right now. So in QuickBooks, we have something that is called NED 2. And so if you have a version of QuickBooks that allows you to use purchase orders, it's very cool because you can set up that estimate I just referred to. Okay, once you set that estimate up at the top of that estimate, you can just click. There's a little, I'm not showing an estimate, I'm actually showing a purchase order. But at the top of the estimate screen, you'll see a little button that says Create Purchase Orders. And then you can say, I want to create a purchase order for certain line items for a vendor. And it copies and pastes everything right out into that purchase order for you, so you never have to enter data twice. So it's very neat also because once you get things into the purchase order, when the bill comes in, you can say, I want to copy off of the purchase order into the bill. As a matter of fact, when you enter the bill or the check or a credit card charge for a vendor, QuickBooks will pop a little screen up and says, oh, you've got an open purchase order. And do you want a copy from that? And you can say yes. And when you say yes, it will copy everything off of the purchase order straight into the bill. So if you think of this series of creating your estimates, converting it into a purchase order, and then ultimately converting it into a bill, all without having to keystroke everything in again a second time. It's a very neat process. Okay, we call it NED 2, never enter data twice. So in here, I put some numbers. Now you guys will be getting the slides, so you'll be able to study this. But the numbers on the screen basically say, here's the vendor, number 1. Where are we, what job are we going to use this on is number 2. What template do we want to use? We can have different templates in the background, same data, but make it appear different. Number 4 has a lot of information about who requisitioned it, what's the expected date, and so on. Number 5, these are all the particular items we're ordering from Poor Boy Cement. Okay, and number 6, we have information about whether we want to print it, whether we want to email it, and so on. So it's pretty comprehensive. You see totals at the bottom. So very neat way to make your life easier in the back office, but there are also a lot of benefits because you're going to clarify, you're going to be clear before you order. Okay, and then it's going to give you a way to check against the incoming bills to make sure that the amounts line up with what you wanted. The other point a lot of people don't know about purchase orders is that you can go ahead and issue these inside of QuickBooks even if you don't send them to your vendors. So you can use it to make your life better and easier, but without actually sending them out if you don't want to. Okay, so either send them or don't send them, up to you. Lots of benefits in either case. Okay, so poll number 3. Let's see who's doing purchase orders. What are the percentages? When it comes to purchase orders, indicate whether you use them almost always, frequently, occasionally, or almost never. Of course, the implication is, are you using them in QuickBooks? I probably should have clarified that.
All right, we got some final votes coming in here, it looks like, and it looks like we have quite polarizing answers here. I will close this in just a second and share the replies.
Yep, people have to be fast when they're working with us. Okay, almost always. About a third. Okay, frequently, another 5%. Occasionally, okay, and then almost never, more than half. Okay, so those of you who are not almost never using them, I'd encourage you to really be thinking about it. I know that there are a lot of, and I could do a whole seminar on any one of these topics, each one of them. However, with purchasing controls, that can help you control your cost, smooth out everybody's life, and so on. So be thinking about that, okay? And again, keep an eye on those folks at the top of the screen because they're going to be pulling out in front. Okay. I got to get a little competition going here. Okay. All right. So purchasing controls was our third step. This is all tying together, you'll see. Our next thing is time tracking, payroll, and burden. So this is a way for you to figure out exactly what your employees cost. So QuickBooks has a very nice feature where they will post, if you have everything set up properly, they will assign all of the hourly rates out to jobs plus payroll taxes. In addition to payroll taxes, what we would like to be able to see is what we call burden. Now, this is a little more complex screen. You'll probably want to spend a little bit of time on it. However, in this case, we have somebody that I'm not sure that I show initially what their dollar amount is on here, but at any rate, they may have started out at maybe $18 an hour, but in fact, they're costing us $41.44 per hour, and they have a burden rate for all of these other costs that accompany them. In other words, paid time off, holiday vacation, sick time, benefits, maybe insurances, maybe workers' comp. They could have cell phones, they could have vehicles. There are a whole lot of other costs that go along. So if you can figure out exactly what those employees cost per hour for every hour they really work, then if we can also get that into QuickBooks, we're in much better shape to know exactly what's going on with our jobs. Now, that's not something that QuickBooks will compute for you automatically as to what each employee costs you. You have to do that outside of the system. We have a tool that you can do that with. It's called our Employee Cost and Pricing Analyzer. But once you know what those percentages are, you can load them into QuickBooks as part of the payroll allocation process, and you'll be able to get much better and more accurate job cost. Okay, so let's find out from folks what they're doing with time tracking and employee job costing. Okay, when it comes to time tracking and assigning employee costs to jobs, you can see all of those choices. Might take people a moment or two longer to fill that out because those are a little bit longer answers to read through.
Okay, we have just about a little over half the people voted, and so we'll give this a few more moments so people have the chance to get in here. Okay, it looks like voting is kind of coming to a slowdown here, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and we will display the results here.
Okay. All right, so we're seeing assigning payroll and burden cost is a smaller percentage, so kudos to you folks. You've figured that out, that you really need to see those burden costs for the most accurate job cost reports. We have about 40%, as you see, tracking and assigning payroll and tax costs to jobs, and tracking time. The rest of you are falling kind of below those two. But if you're not assigning those employee costs and so on out to jobs, then any job cost reports that you are getting are not accurate. But of course, if you're not getting job cost reports at all, then those can all go hand in hand. Okay, so I understand that. But now you know that that element is really important. Now, if you have equipment, okay, heavy equipment, that's another element of job costing. I'm not going to spend much time there. You know if it applies to you. If you've got trucks, if you've got big pieces of equipment that are used specifically for jobs, that's another issue, and you would want to include that in your job costing. So that's number 5, allocating equipment cost. Number 6, if you have inventory. Now, most construction companies, some buy inventory ahead of time, but not all that many. Most construction people are buying inventory or job materials as they go specifically for jobs. But if you are in a company that buys amounts of your materials ahead of time and then you apply it to jobs as you move forward, then you would probably be looking at the inventory side. So if you have recurring or at volume items that you're buying and then you use them later, you could very well be using that inventory feature and getting things costed as you actually use them. So that's number 6. Number 7 is company reporting, the structure. What we want are reports that are going to give us clear, logical, useful information. So what happens is clients will come to me, or potential clients will come to me and say, I need help because when I look at my reports, I don't get it. I'm not an accountant, so I don't get it. And I look at it and I go, well, I'm an accountant and I don't get it either. Because things are not laid out in a way that is useful. Okay, so we do that by getting things in the right places, grouped so that we can summarize and see information that's actually useful to management. So, in order to be able to help everybody be on the same page, we have to have something in place that, from a management standpoint, for the entire company makes sense. For instance, that we want to be able to see all of our cost of production in one type of account, and so that we can see what the gross profit is. When we look at company overhead costs, we want to be able to see what are all of our marketing costs together, what are all of our costs of running the back office, etc. So by structuring things in a logical way, and this is generally done in the chart of accounts, you're going to immediately get better and more useful information because we can do subtotals and add percentages and so on. So that's very important for the overall company reporting. So far we've been talking about job costing, but when you can see things in a clearer fashion, you're going to be able to make better decisions. And that's what we go for with management accounting. That's what management accounting is all about. And just thinking of your numbers is something you have to do at year end. I mean, you're maybe 6 months to a year later, you're finding out what happened. It's too late to do anything. Whereas if you can see this on an ongoing basis, you can make changes, make decisions that will help you to be more profitable. But it's got to be understandable. Okay? So, poll number 5. This is about the usefulness, accuracy, and timing of your current reports. Now, when I talk about timing, that means that you don't have to wait for 3 months. That means that by approximately the middle of the following month, you can tell what happened in your company last month and year to date through last month. It means that you don't have to always wonder, are the books finished and closed? Okay? So, how are our responses coming in, Joe?
Still coming a little bit, Diane. I just give it about 5 more seconds, and then
Okay.
we'll kind of close that here.
And there may be some people that don't actually have access to the company-wide reports, so they might not know the answer to that. Okay, but even if you're in a supervisory position, there should be some reports that you can access that are useful to you. Okay. Okay, almost always 21%, frequently 38. So we're into the about 60%. Those top two lines are above the line. Occasionally, that's not so good, and almost never, of course. Gosh, I feel bad for you guys. Okay, well, we'll all send hugs your way. Okay, sound good? Okay, so we'll go on to our next one. Okay, so we've just added logical, useful company reports in place. And okay, so when we do these educational sessions, I just want to say something that there's a lot of work that goes into these. And so, in exchange for all the work and the information that we provide to you guys, we ask for the opportunity for a few minutes in the middle to just tell you a little bit about what we do. Okay, and really, we're a resource for you, and we have some tools that we think could be helpful. So, is it okay with you guys if I spend a few minutes and just tell you about us and what we do and what we have available for you? Okay, I see a Y. Please. Yes. Okay. Thank you. So he says, "Go for it." Okay. Thanks. Okay. Good. Then we can roll. Okay. So I'm going to share. Okay, now I do okay. I We have an office manager, Marie. We have another incoming ProAdvisor, Shannon. We have another helper by the name of Raquel. But these are our office mascots. Okay, this is Jack and Nikki, and we got some. We call them Intuit ties. We got some special little things from Intuit, so they wore their ties that day. But they're here. They show up in their little black suits every day. Of course, you see Jack has his white shirt on underneath, and Nikki just he goes black and black, so that's his style. But they both are here on a regular basis. So if you ever work with us and you hear a little noise or squeaky going on in the background, one of them may be playing, or they might be alerting us to somebody showing up. So they're with us at all times. Okay, and I just thought I'd share a little bit about the why behind Info Plus Accounting and Build Your Numbers. So it really took me quite a while to get into this particular arena, to even figure out that I really wanted to get into accounting. On the front end, I thought I wanted to be a teacher, and I went and taught in, I think, seventh grade grammar, which was pretty awful. Okay, and I realized I didn't want to do that, so I left school for a while until I finally discovered accounting by actually doing reports for someone else. I went, "Ooh, this is kind of cool," and so I went back and picked up, ultimately got the equivalent of a major in accounting. It was a long road, won't bore you with that, but it took me a while to get there. Went to school nights and so on, uh, put myself through school, and ultimately ended up working in public accounting for 3 years and then in banking for 13 years and started Info Plus Accounting in 1994. But what I want to do is offer encouragement to people. If you're just getting into the bookkeeping side, into understanding your numbers and so on, it is a step by step process of learning a bit at a time. It was not particularly easy for me. And if it's not particularly easy for you, you're definitely in good company. I have so many people come to me and say, I'm not an accountant. And I go, yeah, well, if you wanted to be an accountant, you would have gone to school to be an accountant. You went into business because you have a skill and you wanted to build your business on that. I'm here to help you figure out how to use your numbers in the best way. And I have worked with people pretty much from the stage of they hardly knew how to turn on a computer all the way up through folks who are pretty advanced. So it's a step-by-step process, and I want to encourage you to not get discouraged. Okay? Let's see. I'm going to go on. So I was just telling you this was not easy. There would be times I'd, when I was taking classes or when I was after I started my business and just starting to work with QuickBooks. And I'd sit there with my head in my hands at night and I go, if I do this, it shows up over here. But if I do that, it shows up down here. But then I've painted myself into a corner and I have to back up. My first few years, I had a lot of non chargeable time. So learning construction accounting plus QuickBooks and plus job costing, it's a fairly complex process, but it's very doable if you just do a step at a time. Okay. So, why did I start my company? Because I always loved the management accounting side of accounting. I did audits, I did reviews, I did taxes. Wasn't wild about, I did those. It really was a great learning experience, but really management accounting, helping companies have their own good internal numbers and understanding them was what I really, really loved. So that's why I started the company. So, some of what I've learned over the last years, many years, okay, is that BBI yields BBR. Better business information, if you all things held equal, better information is going to let you get better business results. So if company A is working in the dark about their numbers, company B knows exactly what's going on, I'm going to let you draw your own conclusions. Okay, which one of those two companies is likely, given logic, going to get better business results? I'll just let you think on that and answer it yourself. Okay, so some of the tools and training resources, we have more than these, but I'm going to really buzz through 7 of them. Number one is what we call CAMP. We have 90 hours of online QuickBooks Job Cost training. Now, probably you don't want to take 90 hours, but you can pick and choose. This is a monthly subscription, and there are different classes. You can see outlines. You can pick and choose what you want. It also includes 15 minutes a month with me, okay, plus 30% discounts on any of the other support products that I've developed over the last 23 years. Okay, so that's something that you may want to take a look at. When you get these slides, you'll be able to click on the links in here. Okay, we also have something called the Employee Cost and Pricing Analyzer. This will let you determine what each and every one of your employees cost per hour that they're actually working to do what you hired them to do, as well as summaries and roll ups by department or by the employee level. Okay, there is a free version available on that so that you can kind of test it out on a web page and see what you think. And then if you like that and you want to do it a little bit higher level, there are paid versions available. Of course, one-to-one consulting. We work with GoToMeetings so that we can see your computer, move the mouse. You can move the mouse. We can move the mouse. We talk, we work, we accomplish things. Okay? And I'm happy to work with owners, staff members, other accountants as a team member, whatever works. We can talk about it and make sure that we're meeting your needs. We have month-end closing procedures pre-built. You can get these customized for yourself. They're very extensive. That makes sure you get your reports when you want them. We also have a percentage of completion analyzer to help people who need to do that smoothing of income. If you've got you're invoicing one month, have costs in another, etc. This is a good way to smooth it. There are some very specific things to do and circumstances under which you use this, but we could talk about it if you have questions. And we also have a pre-built QuickBooks data file for folks in construction. And this is designed for a wide variety of different kinds of construction companies. And I would encourage you to go out, even if you're not interested in this product, if you go out there and you watch the videos about it, you will learn a whole lot about how to set up a QuickBooks file to yield the best information. Okay, so I think we're done with, oh no, one more. If you have QuickBooks and you're looking to update, upgrade, whatever, we have very significant discounts. I'm a Intuit Premier reseller, and get in touch with us. We'll help you find the best fit for the different types of QuickBooks, and you'll get a pretty big discount. Like on Pro and Premier, it's a minimum 35% off standard pricing. Okay, so be sure to get in touch if you want to update. 2018 just came out, so if it's time for you to update, you can get in touch. Okay, just call the office, and of course, on the bottom of the slides, you will see our phone numbers and how to access. Okay, thank you for sitting through our little about us and what some of the resources we have. If you go to the website, you'll be able to look around and look at things. Okay, so the thing is your accurate, reliable information. And as you recall, I mentioned month-end closing procedures. It's pretty hard to make sure that you have everything proofed, balanced, and accurate without going through a set of processes. Now, some of you may already have a process in place and you follow it religiously. For those of you who don't and don't really know how to set that up, we do have that. It's actually what we used to use when we did bookkeeping for folks, and then we have refined it and upgraded it so it is something you step through each month with target dates to get done what needs to be done. If you have something very specific or unusual, you can customize it. Okay? So again, going back to that concept of better business information yields better business results. If you don't know, you see our guy here is looking puzzled. If you don't know what you're looking at is accurate, you are probably going to be very reluctant to make decisions on what you're seeing. And all you have to do is have a couple bad experiences. And unfortunately, I find that business owners, if they can't believe their numbers, then they just don't look at them at all. Okay, so you want to make sure that those things are accurate and reliable and have a process in place to do that. So that's our number 8. Number 9, the month-end closing procedures that I just talked about. That's pretty much what you have to have in place to make the accurate reports work. Okay, profitability and timing of income. You saw me mention about the percentage of completion analyzer. One of the big plagues that so many companies that I look at, we go through a process sometimes where we do a little trend analysis and we say, well, how is your profitability from year to year? How is it from month to month? And this is one of the trickier pieces particularly in construction accounting, is whether you're doing, for instance, spec homes. Okay, then those costs can't be recognized, cost or income recognized, until you actually go through a closing. Okay, but if you're doing a longer term contract, and this can apply to whether you're in manufacturing, construction, or other service projects, longer term contracts, you don't invoice at the same specific rate in most cases as your costs hit the books. Okay, now if you were just doing very short handyman type services, yep, your costs are probably going to show up about the same time as your income. But if you have longer term projects, so maybe you get a deposit up front and then the next month you incur cost, and the next month you incur some cost and some invoicing or income because of the contract. You're getting very much a roller coaster ride, and you can feel when you start looking at financials for the company, you can start feeling a whole lot like the people in the front row on the left. Okay. Our goal is to have you find through percentage of completion or through proper income recognition methods a way to make that roller coaster ride a whole lot smoother and a whole lot more enjoyable so that your gross profit can stay relatively even across a period of months. Okay? There's also another method called completed contract method. So when we talk with people, we find out what's going on the tax side, what do they need for management purposes, and find a way so that they have a very good understanding of exactly what's going on between their income and their costs. So it's not quite as rocky and feeling like one month can go out and buy a new truck, the next month you want to jump out of the window. Okay? So that's number 10, matching income and cost. Number 11, okay, is taking that job cost information, summarizing it by different types of jobs that you're doing. So examples of the way that people can do that would be based on size. Okay, which size jobs are most profitable or least profitable? Maybe we want to look at it by who's the supervisor. Are some supervisors able to bring things in on time and on budget or under budget, and others are always late and over budget? What about locations? Are there certain locations that are more profitable? What about if you're in construction, maybe certain models are better for you? Or products if you're in manufacturing. So knowing which of these arenas are more profitable and less profitable lets you either fix the less profitable things, find out why. Maybe you modify your pricing, maybe you modify your operations, or maybe you say, oh, gee, we're doing so much better in this particular area, we're going to niche in that area and focus on that, and that will bring your overall company profitability up. So by being able to see job costs and then decide what type they are or analyze by that, you can change the whole direction of your entire company. Okay, so it's really useful information that you can strategize and analyze and move forward with. So that's our summarizing and analyzing jobs, what actually happened and how to fix it. Another thing is planning your profits and cash flow, setting the stage for your success. Okay, so that happens when you're setting the stage and you're laying everything out and you're looking out to the horizon. I saw a cartoon once, it was very cool, and it showed somebody with their head down and their nose on a grindstone. And it said it's hard to watch the horizon when your nose is on the grindstone. So sometimes you have to step back and plan exactly what's going to be happening in the future so that you can set those targets, set those goals, and then find ways that your operational procedures can reach them. So setting the stage for success, and of course cash flow is incredibly important, and understanding the difference between profits and cash flow. So that's part of setting your stage for success. And one of the things that I find is that, some people don't use this tool. So we're going to do a poll. What's going on with your company budgeting in QuickBooks? Okay, so our whole question is we create an annual budget for the company, we enter it into QuickBooks, and we regularly review our budget versus actual reports. I'll let people think.
Okay, over 50% of votes now. Diane, I loved what you said about something like this, changing the whole direction of your company. That was really, really powerful.
Yeah, I'm in a mastermind group with some other construction consultants, and one of the fellows talked about he's not in the business anymore, but he was in a roofing company. And he said they brought in a consultant, they analyzed where their profits were, and they found that I'm not going to tell you what the answer is, but they looked at commercial versus residential, and they decided to focus on one of those. And it totally turned their company around and made them very profitable.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, just knowing that
Okay, looks
particular
like
thing. Go ahead.
absolutely. Yeah, I was just going to say, it looks like voting is kind of slowing down here, so I'll go ahead and share the results that we have.
Always only 6%. Okay, sometimes 14%. 31 people say they create the budgets, but they're not in QuickBooks. So, the advantage, of course, of having them in QuickBooks is you can very easily run actual versus budget. Okay, so if you're doing it outside of QuickBooks, I'd say take that extra step and get those budgets in QuickBooks. So good, I'm seeing 45, about 50% of people, I don't even have to add it up, 51% of folks are doing some form of budgeting, and about half of you aren't. And that is not surprising because very few people that I talk to are actually doing budgets at QuickBooks. So again, motivation. That's what that's what we're about here is to help you get moving forward. Okay, so we'll go on to our next slide. And we just added in item number 12. You're seeing a pattern here. We're going down a path. These are the pieces. Okay, plan your budgets and your profits and cash flow. Okay, and I know budgets is a dirty word, so I just say let's plan your profits. Okay, do your financial game plan. Let's call it something other than budget. Okay, so the last thing is invest in tools and in training. Okay, sharpen the saw. You're not going to be able to cut much wood if you don't stop and get sharper saw blades. Okay, whether you actually sit and sharpen them. Okay, you probably don't do that now. You probably just get a new saw blade. But the idea is that you have to have the right tools in place. Otherwise, you're going to be working with at least one hand behind your back. So out of the folks that come and talk to me, a friend asked me, he said, well, when people come to you, how many of them really are in the right software? And you'll see number one is get the software that's right for your company. And I went, well, maybe a third, maybe a little bit more than that. Most of them either need to update, upgrade, switch, move out of a different program altogether, etc. So, of course, for job costing, we recommend QuickBooks Pro, Premier, or Enterprise desktop products. And if you have any question about whether you're in the right software or not, talk to me. Call me. We'll set a time to talk about that in more detail. There's no reason for you to have the wrong software and be trying to swim upstream. Okay, that it's a lot of exercise and futility and extra time. And of course, you have to learn how to use it and customize it to meet your unique needs. Okay, QuickBooks itself is a generic package. It needs customization to match your particular business. It needs customization in order to do job costing. It needs structural underpinnings set up in particular ways to work in the right way to give you the results. I always say begin with the end in mind. In QuickBooks, if you want the right output, you have to have the right structure. Much as in construction, you've got to have a good blueprint, a good plan to follow if you want good results on the tail end. Now, I'm going to share something here. I know it's probably kind of small. You can read it in more detail when you get the slides, but this is a letter that a builder wrote to me. Okay, and he talks about a picture. I'll show you that in a minute. And it says that he spoke to me. I made certain recommendations. He didn't follow one of them, and he went and decided to use a version of QuickBooks called QBO or QuickBooks Online. I suggested he wasn't going to get the results that he needed from that particular package. And there was another suggestion I made that he did follow. Okay, but he says, but now I find that QBO is really not nearly as robust for our building business. We do about 12 to 18 high-end luxury homes in his particular city. And then he says, if I did the right amount of groveling, would you help me to get set up on QuickBooks Premier or another version you'd suggest? So I just had to laugh. I got a chuckle out of it because no, you don't have to grovel. This is the picture he sent me. Okay, so I just got a real good chuckle out of I'm really not making this up. Okay. Now, when you get these slides, if you click on, anywhere in here, you'll be taken to a blog article that I've written about QuickBooks Online versus QuickBooks Desktop in relationship to job costing. Okay. So you can learn from that. Okay. So we want to make sure that you invest in the right tools and in training. Okay, so just as I mentioned, we have these online training classes. These are not from some outside company. Our online training classes that we offer through our construction and management program have been built from the ground up by me. They've got lots of handouts. You can stop the video, start the video, back it up. You have access for as long as you are in the subscription program. So we have lots of how-to training out there, and it's based on real life work with construction companies. So for many years, I only worked one-to-one with people, and then I went ahead and decided to start training some of this on pre-recorded to make it more accessible and more affordable for people. So another quote from Peter Drucker. I'm not even going to read it. I'm sure you understand. And so, what's next? If you're ready for a change, perform a self assessment. I'm going to give you the tool to do that on the next page, and you can figure out where in these areas do you need to improve, and you'll get a score. Select 2 or 3 of the highest impact improvements that you can make, okay, in your internal management information system. Set goal dates. Nothing happens unless you set a date. I laugh and say nothing happens if it's not on my calendar. So set your goal dates for when you're going to do certain things and get started. Okay, and of course, if you don't feel confident about how and where to begin, get in touch. You don't have to be a pioneer. Okay, I was a pioneer. I felt I had to learn everything on my own, and I did, but I'll tell you what, it was painful. Okay, I made a lot of mistakes. I had a lot of unbillable time. I had to undo and redo things until I finally got all the pieces and parts figured out. When I did, it was just like a beautiful puzzle. All the pieces and parts just fell into place. I went, oh, this is how it works. Okay, so if you just love doing that and love spending a lot of extra time, go for it. But we are here to help if you need it. So I also like to mention to people that putting a good job cost and management information system in place is not an event. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. You have to be thinking and making decisions and structuring things properly. And then you can get the output and the management information that you need. So, our bonus and free resources, click here to find out how you stack up. This is going to take you out to a page where you will get a 25 question self-assessment, okay, that you can look at and get a score. You don't have to share it with anybody. I mean, you do have to put in your email in order to get it back, okay, and we're not going to call you or anything. This is for you, and see how you stack up, okay? Check out the blog articles we got lots of free training out there, okay? And then a lot of the products that I mentioned in the mid session includes educational videos and screenshots. Okay, we've got 5.5 minutes left for questions or comments or whatever.
Wow, thank you so much, Diane. I was taking furious notes here myself, so there's a lot that you packed into that presentation.
Okay. Oh, I told you guys I'd give you if you got through the information that I would make sure you got the slides. Now I'm going to put those right over into the GoToMeeting. Not sure if you guys can see them yet, but they are out there now. I got the little check mark that says they're there. So in your GoToMeeting screen, you should be able to find something for handouts. Now, if for some reason, okay, you can't get it right now, we will send everybody who attended today an email that will let you click in and see a recording Let's say you want to share this recording with somebody else in your company, or maybe even you know somebody else in business that you think this would be good for. We'll give you a link to the recording, and on that same page, we will give you a chance to download these slides, okay, with clickable links all the way through, okay?
Fantastic.
Okay.
Diane, we have two people asking the same question. Both James and Todd are asking what your opinion is of UDA.
You know, to be honest, I have not spent any time in UDA. There are very few other products that I spend much time in. The reason being that so many people have QuickBooks. I think it's somewhere in the 80 to 90% of small and mid-sized businesses are in QuickBooks. I stay very, very busy focusing on letting people or helping people get their QuickBooks set up in the proper way and to try to keep up with the multitude of other software programs would just bring me to my knees. I couldn't do it. So I don't have an opinion about UDA.
Okay, thank you. Mary was asking earlier, quite at the beginning of the presentation, where she can find an example of an estimate. She says she knows how to do them, but I don't know if I'm doing them correctly.
Okay, well, estimates can be set up in a number of ways. Okay, and of course, we cover those in our classes. Um, so you would click on an estimate in QuickBooks. There are different template setups where you can put in cost and income. Of course, cost and income are two different things. The defaults QuickBooks gives you basically only pretty much let you put in anticipated income. So you have to go out and customize your templates. And if you look in the background of your template, you can find ways to add the extra columns in so you have columns for cost as well as for income. I probably spend a good hour and 15 minutes or so. I'd have to look at the class, but you know, there's a whole class about the proper ways to enter estimates, and it can be different. The way you enter an estimate can be different for a fixed price job versus a cost plus job versus a time and materials job versus a spec home. Okay, so estimate entry, QuickBooks is very versatile and lets you do all those things. There are just different ways to do the entries. So,
Okay, fantastic. I just want to note here that we're coming up on the hour. I think, Diane, if you are open to it, we can stick around for a few more minutes, but we do want to be respectful of people's time. So if you do need to head out, we can answer your questions individually and, of course, send everything that was included in this presentation. But Diane, do you want to stick around for a few more minutes? We have a few more questions coming in.
yeah, sure. I'm happy to stay here and answer questions, but before I jump back into that, I also want to tell for the people that have to leave, I want to tell Joe thanks so much for hosting. Thank you, Joe.
Absolutely, my pleasure. It's been a lot of fun, and I wish I'll have to watch this again because there's so much information in here.
Okay, great. And I just want to let folks know that in November, you'll be getting an email, but we're going to kind of flip our roles, and I'm going to be the host, and Joe is going to do a presentation. Take 15 or 20 seconds, Joe, and just tell people what your area of expertise is so that they can be watching for that.
Sure, thanks, Dan. So you were talking a lot about profit here and making sure that you have the proper resources and the tools to improve your business and grow to that next level. We come in kind of on the front end of that and help you get more customers and get more profitable projects for your business by way of online marketing and website development and things like that. So you can position your business well enough to generate those quality projects that you want, that you need, so you can have the resources to build out your team so people can be doing these things inside your organization. So we're going to try to tie everything in together with what we were talking about today and again, help you improve your business with better business marketing and better business results.
Cool. Yeah, it all none of these things work in a vacuum. They all have to work together for a business. So, yeah, so keep your eye open for that upcoming webinar that we'll be doing in November. So, okay, let's go back to questions and we'll hang out here for a while and answer questions for people as best we can in a limited time frame. And thanks so much to everybody who's shown up and taken time out of your day. I came up with a new phrase for think and learn today. So that's what you guys have been doing and sharing.
Awesome. I'll start at the top here. We have a few questions. Andreas is asking, do you have any experience with Bill.com integration with QuickBooks?
Again, okay, so there are hundreds of programs. I shouldn't say again, but just to let you know, there are hundreds of programs that will interact with QuickBooks. Bill.com is one of the better known, but I don't work with that myself, nor the particular clients that I am working with. I have not, if they are working with it, I haven't been involved in that side of it. So I'm going to withhold. About the only software program that I openly, um, well, there are two software programs that I openly endorse as being really nice plugins for QuickBooks. One is Co-Construct. It has a lot of very cool bells and whistles and portals and very neat things. Okay, and so I've been working more closely with Co-Construct, and the other one is T-Sheets, time collection software. So both. Um, get in touch with us about either one of them, and I can put you in touch with the people in the know at either one of those companies to do a demo, show you how it can interact. Those are the only two that I will offer any opinions about other than the QuickBooks products. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Here's one that's probably very common. Jason is asking, well, first of all, he says, wow, in all caps, such good info. Are these suggestions even for very small business, like framing and small projects? Is it always beneficial to track your jobs individually?
Okay, so I normally say that if you are just running a really small company, it's the owner and maybe one other person, and you can stay on top of what's going on. If you know pretty much how much you're spending on a job, how much you're making on a job, usually people can do that up to a certain point. Okay, if they're just running a job or two here or there, they can handle it. Above and beyond that, if you are not tracking your numbers, it's very difficult to know what's going on. So on one level, maybe you can get by with a spreadsheet until you get to a couple 100,000 a year. Okay, and even on a spreadsheet, I would still cost it out by job. Okay, put your jobs in different columns. However, the problem is that that's just not scalable. You can't slice and dice your information in all sorts of different ways. So it kind of depends on your information needs. So have worked with many people who are trade contractors, drywall, framing, plumbing, electrical. It has a lot to do with exactly what kinds of information you need and how much you can carry in your head. There's going to be a point where you'll find that you'd rather focus your time and attention on other things other than trying to go, oh, gee, okay, how much did this cost? How much did that cost? Your brain is not a good place to store that. That's why we have software.
Excellent. Yeah, I would agree. Absolutely. I mean, if develop these habits early, so as you do take on those larger projects and scale, you have those habits and those systems in place. Developing them early is going to be much more straightforward for you.
Yeah, and if you can develop them when you're not totally overwhelmed with everything else going on in your business, it's one of those things. The earlier the better, but now is always what's that saying? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. So,
Absolutely. Yep. A couple comments in here. Todd, hey Todd, how you doing? He says, thanks for the great information. I have noted at least 3 things that I need to start working in order to get better reports. Great to hear. Tanya says, thank you. I will be in touch for info on extended services. Your services will greatly help us become better business accounting managers.
ooh,
Cool.
let's have. Okay, so yeah, you keep telling me really good things, Joe. I'm enjoying that.
Love that. We'll keep going all day at this pace.
Okay.
Rachel is asking, is there a way to link general liability costs into the labor burden in QuickBooks?
General liability insurance. Okay, generally what I do is I say the reason you have liability insurance is because you have employees. Okay. And if you have employees, rolling the liability insurance into the labor burden for the employees is what I generally suggest. So we just touched on labor burden, but liability insurance is one of those things that I suggest you roll into the labor burden process, along with all the other insurances, workers' comp, and so on. Health, liability. all those kinds of things are really a part of the cost of you having an employee performing services for you. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Another tool question, I know you mentioned co-construct, Diane. Jim is asking what your opinion is on builder trend. I'm not sure if you want to answer that or not.
Yeah, I haven't spent the same amount of time in Builder Trend. So I started to help one client implement. We ran into some wrinkles, and he really hasn't come back to help finish the rest, take care of the rest of the wrinkles that we ran into. So again, that's why I limited my comments to the two programs that I mentioned.
Okay. Looks like we might have one last question here from Todd. Diane, do you have any templates for items lists for construction companies that specialize in remodel work?
Yeah, okay, so I would suggest you go out and look at the Accounting Pro pre-built template. That template has a full list of construction stages included in it. And so what we do with that is we suggest that, okay, there will be things for development, for instance, that as a remodeler you wouldn't use, you just inactivate those. But that list, I do not give that list away. It was, it's a proprietary list that I developed based on a lot of different estimating systems. But you can go out and look at it and watch the videos so that you have an understanding. If you want to build one from scratch, I think you'll kind of see what's involved. And so, yeah, those videos, like tell people, go out and look at the videos, even if you're not interested in the product itself, because you're going to learn a lot. It's called Accounting Pro. Yep.
That's great to know.
Okay.
One last one. Sorry, Dan, I know you've been patient. This came at the beginning. Dan has chimed in a couple times. Can man hours be built into the cost reports?
Actually, the hours and the cost in QuickBooks, there is no innate way to do that. However, you can see estimated time versus actual time in time reports. So I suggest to people that you run an estimate versus actual time report and then run your estimated versus actual cost report and kind of set them next to each other. If you really wanted to get a little fancier, the data is all in QuickBooks, and we can put you in touch with some advanced report writing folks who could pull those things onto a single report for you.
Wow, okay. Diane, you know the ins and outs, that's for sure. You have a great answer to all these questions. So.
So Joe sent out an email. I had to laugh at the email Joe sent out. And what did you say in the email? I can't. QuickBooks
The QuickBooks
domination. I was
domination.
laughing. Going, Joe, you're going to have to write my subject lines for me in the future.
I think the challenge is for everyone is to, like you said in a few slides ago, or toward the end, is to pick a few things that you can implement to really have an impact on your business. So maybe
Exactly.
not get overwhelmed with all of it, but pick a few of those key areas.
Yes, and if I can always just focus on one or two things, which is really what we do out in the classes, okay, and in the how-tos and so on. But in many cases, people just don't even know what they can do with QuickBooks. So that was the idea. So,
Great. Yeah, I think that's it for questions. We have some comments. Thank you so much from Janet. Thanks Janet for being here. So looks like people got a lot of value out of this, Diane.
okay, well, great, and we're so pleased that you came and that you had such good questions. And stay tuned. We'll keep letting you know about upcoming webinars and things where we can share information and resources, and you can think and learn and share. I think I'll change that phrase from think and learn. We'll do think and learn and share. So you got to learn a little bit about what other people are doing too.
Fantastic. Well, I had a blast, Diane. This was a lot of fun, and I got a lot of value out of it as well. So thank you very much for your very valuable time.
Okay, and thank you, Joe. And I'll tell you what, um, I'm the person that can turn the webinar on and off out here. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave this open for a few minutes. If you have comments, we'd love to quote you maybe in a future webinar. If you were happy with this, let us know. And if you have ideas for future webinars, put that in, and we'll go ahead and just leave that open for you to, maybe for 3-4 minutes so that you can type in anything that you want before you go. And we'll see you the next time. Okay? Take care, everybody. Have a great day.